As fuel costs rise, 6 major oil CEOs will testify on Capitol Hill as Congress looks to alleviate surging prices for Americans at the pump. This coming amid criticism that companies are capitalizing on the crisis fueled by Russia's war with Ukraine. For more, congressional correspondent Kilmeny Ducart joining us live from Capitol Hill with the latest on this. Kilmeny.
Sean, good to be with you. That hearing is now underway, and the title of it, Gouged at the Gas Station, Big Oil and America's Pain at the Pump, really tells you everything you need to know about how Democrats on the House Energy and Commerce Committee plan to question these big CEOs for what they say is their failure to ramp up production and lower prices for consumers. The House Democratic Caucus Chairman Hakeem Jeffries in his press conference yesterday said it was Congress's job to hold them to account, and of course that companies needed to show more patriotism.
At minimum, it should involve ensuring that perhaps there's some relief that consumers and everyday Americans experience in the form of lower gas prices, given the incredible record profits that oil and gas companies are making right now.
These oil companies are eager to set the record straight when it comes to why consumers are paying more, pointing to the Biden administration's efforts to hamper and regulate production. The president of the Western Energy Alliance said in a statement last week, the White House conveniently forgets the government's role in delaying pipelines and introducing new financial and regulatory risks to American development. Its allies have spent
I'll continue reading. Its allies have spent several years seeking to deny oil and natural gas access to financing, and the Biden SEC is moving forward with a rule meant to do just that. It's the perfect storm of erecting regulatory and financial risks meant to stop American production there. Again, that from the Western Energy Alliance president there. Again, that happening now, as Kilmeny Ducart was pointing out, those 6 CEOs meeting about is price gouging actually happening? Are they to blame for the high prices at this time? Any news or sound that is made in that, we'll bring it to you live here on National Report.
Let's keep the conversation going. Joining us now to discuss is Republican Congressman from Kentucky and leader on the House Energy and Commerce Committee, Brett Guthrie. Congressman, welcome. Thanks for coming on today. What are you hoping to learn from today's hearing from oil executives?
Good morning. I think what we're going to see, this is another example of President Biden's policies hurting Kentuckians, hurting Americans. If you look at the title of the hearing, the one thing that's accurate in the title is pain at the pump. And I think what we're going to hear is the problem is the world price of oil and the world price of oil. And it's not just oil, it's natural gas, all the other things that are being restricted from being developed in America. And I think what I want to learn today is hopefully these oil CEOs will say the reason they're not expanding their drilling and producing more so the price will drop is because of the issues they're facing with the Biden administration. But also we're going to have the Republicans have asked General H.R. McMaster, one of the most noted scholars in international diplomacy, who's going to talk about how this has put us at risk and the things that are going on in Ukraine, things going on with Iran, Venezuela. This has put us at risk by President Biden's decision with a stroke of a pen to slow down, and he says he wants to stop, but slow down surely more than almost 2 billion barrels a day of American production that would make us energy independent so we wouldn't be dependent upon dictators, because that makes us vulnerable to dictators.
We've heard the president and this White House blame Putin for the rising gas prices. We've seen questions clearly to these top oil executives. But as you allude to, here's what Senator Ted Cruz kind of said has to do with these high prices. Let's listen together.
The Biden administration's assault on oil and gas production began during his campaign when he pledged during the debate. And I want you to look at what he said. He said, quote, "No more drilling on federal lands. No more drilling, including offshore. No ability for the oil industry to continue to drill. Period. Ends."
And we've seen gas prices increase. AAA reports the average price per gallon nationally at $4.16. In Kentucky, sir, $3.91. Again, this is on average, but it does vary where you are across the country, how much you're paying per gallon here. The president tapping into those strategic petroleum reserves, perhaps in an effort to lower prices. How much of a difference will that move make?
Well, that's short term, and it doesn't make much of a difference. And that's what's unfortunate, because this is an emergency. But what the strategic oil reserves are for is if it's an emergency, we don't have gas. So there's been times in American history where we just didn't have adequate supply. We have supply, but unfortunately, it's expensive. So we need to deal with that. And the way we deal with it is expand American drilling, American production. And we can do that. And they say it's just oil companies gouging. It's the international villain of Putin, who he is. But when Iran bombed Saudi Arabia's refineries back, it was 2018 or 19, I think it's 2018, the price of oil didn't go up more than a dime. You know why? Because under President Trump's policies that on Energy and Commerce Committee we put into place, we were energy independent. And so what happened around the world didn't affect our gas prices because we are energy independent. And the only reason we're not is because of Joe Biden and the decision the Democrats have made. So this is to distract from their decisions. People are hurting, and people are going to hold them accountable for it. They're trying to distract from that.
Comes at a time, too, as you know, where we are seeing 40-year record high inflation. But that's not the only issue this country is facing. There's also a drug crisis going on. I know you've taken interest in combating that through a series of anti-fentanyl acts. Can you tell us more about those efforts?
Well, yeah, so I've been down to the border. If you go to the southern border, I went right to the place where the Trump wall was ceased from being made by Joe Biden's stroke of the pen, ceased being constructed, and there was a gap. And they're trying to, the Border Patrol had to kind of makeshift put a wall in place. And so it's a numbers. As more migrants cross the border, there's more opportunity to smuggle and bring fentanyl into the country. If they take away the Section 42, it's going to bring more migrants to the border, more fentanyl coming across. And where you're getting at is not just the fentanyl coming across the country. The Justice Democrats don't want to make illicit fentanyl illegal, Schedule 1 drug as we call it, but that's technical, but illegal because they say too many people in jail. So we're going to have more migrants, more fentanyl, and the lack of willingness from the Biden White House and the Democrats in Washington to make it illegal, and like heroin's illegal.
Title 42 set to expire at the end of next month. We're going to keep an eye on the outcome of that. Congressman Brett Guthrie joining us this morning. Thank you, sir. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. I'm about to go back to the hearing, so thank you very much.
You got it.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.